I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate.
About Chinese
Yeah, please, John.
Please. The aides behind you. Are you comfortable
I have great love for all of the people from our country. But as you know, China tried to say at one point, maybe they stopped now, that it was caused by American soldiers. That can't happen. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm president. It comes from China. John, please.
My second question.
We're nowhere near it.
Okay, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate. Yeah, please, John. Please.
Are you
I have great love for all of the people from our country. But as you know, China tried to say at one point, maybe they stopped now, that it was caused by American soldiers. That can't happen. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm president. It comes from China. John, please.
Two questions, if I could, Mr. President. First of all, in the Defense Procurement Act, you're invoking it today. Senator Schumer said on the floor a short time ago that it urgently needs to be put into action to produce medical supplies, particularly ventilators. Do you have some targets that you would like to see immediately spooled up under the act?
We have tremendous numbers of ventilators, but there's never been an instance like this where no matter what you have, it's not enough. That would be the case. And we will be, it's being signed. It's essentially drawn, and I'm going to sign it in just a little while. If we need to use it, we'll be using it at full speed ahead.
He says it's urgently needed to be used. Do you have some targets?
Well, we're going to know whether or not urgent, but we will, yeah, we do have targets. We have targets for certain pieces of equipment. We have targets for masks. You know, the numbers of masks are incredible. We've ordered millions of them. But we need millions more. A thing like this has never been requested, and we've never had to even think in terms of these numbers. But we need millions of masks, and all of that will be ordered. We need respirators. We need ventilators is a big thing because it's a complex piece of equipment. So we have a lot of ventilators, but we're going to be ordering more.
And second question, what size will the checks be that will be sent out to Americans?
To be determined. We're working with the Senate right now. We're working with everybody on Capitol Hill. There's been tremendous, there really has been, I mean, with some exceptions, obviously, because it's always the way it is, but there has been, they've been getting along very well, Republicans and Democrats. It's a nice thing, very bipartisan so far.
Would you like to see them more than $1,000?
Well, we're going to see. I don't want to get into that right now, John. We are looking at different numbers. We're looking at timing that would be different, splitting the time, splitting the payments. We're looking at a lot of different things. Hasn't been determined yet, but it will shortly be determined, and people want to go big as opposed, everybody seems to want to go big, and they want to get to the recovery. The big day is, the big thing we can do is get rid of this horrible, I call it the unseen enemy. You call it, there's 1,000 different terms for it, but whatever, it snuck up on us, and it did 128 countries, I think it's in something like that, very close to that, think of that. So it spreads violently. It's a very contagious, very, very contagious virus.
Do you consider America to be on a wartime footing in terms of fighting this virus?
I do. I actually do. I'm looking at it that way because, you know, if it got out of control, the big thing we did was a very early stoppage of people coming in who could be very, very heavily infected. That was a very good move, and it was very early, very, very early, when most people, including a lot of professionals, they didn't want us to do it. That really saved a lot of lives. And yeah, I look at it, I view it as in a sense, a wartime president. I mean, that's what we're fighting. I mean, it's a very tough situation. You have to do things. You have to close parts of an economy that 6 weeks ago were the best they've ever been. We had the best economy we've ever had. And then one day you have to close it down in order to defeat this enemy. And but we're doing it, and we're doing it well. And I'll tell you, the American people have been incredible. For the most part, they've been really incredible. Yeah, please, Caitlin.
For you, and then I have one for Secretary Wilkie as well, but I'll start with you. You just said there are a tremendous number of ventilators that we have, but for weeks, hospitals have been warning about a critical shortage that they say we are not prepared for. So why did it take so long to invoke the Defense Production
Well, you know,
Act?
hospitals are supposed to have ventilators too. And when we have thousands of ventilators, it sounds like a lot, but this is a very unforeseen thing. Nobody ever thought of these numbers. Nobody ever saw numbers like this. Even with regard to testing, normally we wouldn't be doing testing, and they decided to do it. Very, very hard to ramp up. Now we're getting highly sophisticated tests, and it's going very well, but nobody's ever heard of testing in the kind of quantities that you're talking about.
But we knew for weeks we needed more ventilators, so why did it take so
Well,
long?
we knew. It depends. It depends on how it goes. Worst case, absolutely. Best case, not at all. So we're going to have to see where it goes. But we are ordering thousands and thousands of ventilators, and they're complex. You know, these are complex machines, and but we're ordering them. Does anybody have a, Mike? Maybe you do. How many do we have?
Yeah, you said
And
you
we're
could
ordering.
access the
Please,
number.
yeah, please. Do you know the number?
We have a specific number of ventilators in the stockpile. It's in excess of 10,000, and you just heard the announcement from the Department of Defense. They'll be adding several more thousand to that. But President, even this morning and yesterday afternoon, speaking with the largest companies in the supply chain of this country, we're hearing a tremendous spirit among industry leaders who are ready to step in and add to that volume. The stockpiles don't count all of the ventilators that exist today in the marketplace and in healthcare facilities around the country. But the President's given us a directive to make sure that our stockpile, but just as importantly, working with industry leaders, that we're securing the increase in ventilators, the increase in masks, gloves, eye protective care, garments that are all necessary to lean forward. And we're confident we'll be able to accomplish that with the incredible cooperation of the supply chain that exists in America today.
But we don't have an exact number for nationwide, how many ventilators we have?
We can give you that exact number. We'll give it to
Okay,
you.
that's what-
But we're ordering a lot more.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead in the back.
Question for the VA Secretary. I have one question.